coming.
Of course.
Through the Daily Stoic, you have brought the philosophy of Stoicism to millions. But it's a little bit easier to read about it than actually do it. I was biking my kids through Prospect Park, trying to get to the zoo. There was a farmer's market. Took a couple wrong turns. Now we're lost.
Yes.
Now the 5-year-old's saying, Dad, you always get lost. Now the 2-year-old's crying. And I literally said, you know what? You, Ryan Holiday. Because it's easy when I'm reading it, but in action, it can be trickier. How do you manage that?
Well, nothing tests your stoicism quite like having little kids. Right. I have 2 little ones myself. And actually, my oldest hit my youngest the other day, and then he hit him back. And I said, hey, you guys can't do that. And the oldest said to the youngest, you know, you don't control what happens, you only control how you respond to what happens.
Yes.
And I said, that's not how this stoicism thing actually works. So yeah, look, it's a constant challenge.
Yeah.
But that is what philosophy is. It's not supposed to be this abstract, theoretical thing that you do on college campuses. You do it when your kid wakes up in the middle of the night. Yeah. You do it when your kid is sick and your mind is immediately extrapolating that this is the worst thing that could ever happen, and what does it mean? Yeah. And it's supposed to stop the anxiety spiral. It's for the practical problems of life, of which our kids are the cause of many of them.
Yeah. It's something very comforting in knowing that people 2,000 years ago experienced the same thing, but not only experienced it, wrote guidelines on how to help us with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Marcus Aurelius' son is Commodus. So if you've seen the movie Gladiator, Joaquin Phoenix's character gets it pretty close.
Right.
So he knew about the challenges
his son
of
was hitting
parenting.
people too, also.
Yes, and in the arena.
I mean, that deserved a little more than what
No, there's a passage in Marcus Aurelius' Meditations where he talks about not wanting to get up early in the morning.
Right.
And he says, you know, but it's warmer here under the covers. And then he says to himself, you know, is this what you were put here to do?
Right.
To huddle under the covers and stay warm. And so these, although they wore togas and sometimes had names that we can't pronounce, they were dealing with the same problems that we are and always will be dealing with, you know. Annoying and obnoxious people. He opens Meditations with that. Yeah. The people you will meet today will be obnoxious and annoying and difficult and problematic. And it's true, and they will be like that. Yeah. But what the philosophy is about is how do you respond to that? How do you not let it suck you in? How do you not let it make you angry and bitter and annoying yourself?
Yeah. How do you let it not own you?
Yes.
Yeah. In the book, Wisdom Takes Work, there's 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism: courage, discipline, justice, wisdom. Look, I'm busy. If I just have to do one of these, courage, discipline, justice, wisdom, I'm hoping, I don't know how I could do justice, but yeah. What's your thoughts?
Well, they're all inseparable. They're distinct yet inseparable from each other.
Yeah.
Believe me, when I sat down to tackle this series of books, if I could have gotten away with only writing one, I would have done it.
Right.
I think it's hard to subtract justice from any of the other virtues. And at the same time, wisdom is the most essential in that it tells us what is or isn't just, how to bring that justice into the world, what to be courageous about, what is the moderate, the temperate, or the disciplined amount of something. What's too much, what's too little. So they're very difficult to separate from each other. I tried, believe me, but they all inform and shape each other. But I think it is very hard to be a stupid person in the world, right? No one has it. No one has it harder than the unwise person, right? You need wisdom. Life is a thinking person's game, and it will eat you up and tear you apart if you don't have the ability to make sense of things, to discern. This skill of discernment is sort of the ultimate life skill. So that's the most important.
You know, we use the word calibration around the Daily Show a lot. Because this is a machine that keeps going every day, you have to constantly tinker and calibrate. And I was reading your book, and there's so many fun pages and great anecdotes and quotes, but I was thinking wisdom, to me, in so many ways, is calibrating our life with, I've done too much of this, now we move over here. And I really enjoyed that. You did mention at the end of the book that you dropped out of college. I thought that was interesting that you did the end of the book with it, because the beginning... the beginning of the book, I might have been like, well, why am I reading this?
Sure.
But you talk about schooling versus education.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
You know, I'm actually lucky I got into college at all because I wrote my college admissions essay on the distinction between schooling and education.
Yes.
And needless to say, the acceptance letters did not come rolling in.
Yeah. I'm sure they thought you were ballsy, but that was a funny thing that you shared. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, social intelligence is a form of wisdom, which I was clearly lacking at 17 years old. You got to know your audience.
Yeah.
But there is a difference between schooling and education. You can have all the degrees in the world and not be a particularly wise or intelligent person. At the same time, you can skip school or you can drop out of school, provided that you go and you make yourself a student of wise people and the collective wisdom of humanity.
You talk about being a disciple of experience.
Sure.
Which means...
Well, there's this dichotomy between...
You say yes to everything. Is that what that means? Well, I mean, even just scrolling through your social media, you're doing a lot of stuff.
I try.
Yes.
You got, like, the Greek word for idiot meant a person who did not participate in public affairs.
Wow.
So if you are only reading or you're only staying in the classroom, you're going to have, obviously, a stunted view of things. Yeah. You have to have experiences. At the same time, there's a lot of people who've been alive for a long time that clearly didn't pick up much wisdom along the way either. So when I'm saying it's learn, apply, repeat, that is sort of the cycle. Yeah. That wisdom is the byproduct of that cycle. You learn, you're taught, you read, then you try to apply it in the real world, and then you got to reflect on that and try to get a little bit better next time.
And if you believe you've arrived at wisdom,
probably don't have it.
You're dumb.
Yes.
Yeah. But the people that believe they're certain won't even take the steps necessary to learn wisdom. This is the conundrum of life. And, I think so many men in particular are drawn to Daily Stoic. As a man myself who really enjoys your books and your YouTube and your Instagram, I see men in leadership positions now, and I don't connect. I see our current administration. I see a lot of the podcasters. And I think it's hard for me to connect with them. I don't feel like those are the men I want to be. It doesn't seem like a healthy balance. Elon Musk, this brilliant man, and now it seems like he's a cautionary tale to men. How do you feel that so many men are you are their Stoic? Or how would the Stoics advise you to be in this position?
Yeah, I feel like I'm one of the few male influencer types that did not become radicalized or red-pilled. So, like, Stoicism is not supposed to make you a better sociopath or a bigger asshole. That's not what this is.
Right.
That's the ethical component, right? Yeah. I think Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan and he said, empathy is going to cause the destruction of Western civilization. Yeah. That is a profoundly stupid thing to say and think.
Right. Well, you talk about him a lot. You talk about him a lot in the book, and it seems like part of the point you're making is maybe here's a brilliant man who's done a lot of amazing things, but wasn't on this path to wisdom.
I mean, to say that Elon Musk is not smart is like saying he's not rich. He's clearly very smart. Yeah. But that is what is so scary about it, that you could be so brilliant, so gifted, so informed, you could have been so successful, and then social media can still break your brain.
Right.
And it did. Yeah. It did. Yeah. This is a guy who went from reading Soviet rocket manuals to figure out the aeronautics business to following like Cat Turd 7 on Twitter, and Russian bots from whom he now gets his information and his worldview. And that is, I think, a tale as old as time. Yeah. You become successful, you think that you're smart, and that is when you start to get real dumb. Yeah. Because, as the Stoics say, it's impossible to learn that which you think you already know.
I know. I read that in here, and I had to kind of stop and walk around and ruminate on that. And then I said, am I a dumbass that I can't even figure out that sentence? But it starts to make sense.
Well, the Athenians send someone to the Temple of Apollo to ask the Oracle of Delphi, is there anyone wiser than Socrates? And the answer comes back, there's no one wiser than Socrates. Now, this is baffling to Socrates himself. Right. He says, because I don't feel wiser than anyone else.
Right.
And that was precisely the point.
Shit.
From the humility,
Yes.
He is wise. The Socratic method is him walking around Athens, asking questions,
Right.
not lecturing them on what he knows. He's genuinely curious, and from that curiosity and from that humility, it becomes possible to learn. Like, the thing about being a know-it-all is it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because it becomes impossible for you to know anything more than you currently know.
I feel in general as a society we're asking so many less questions.
Sure.
And you talk a little bit about 2 ears, 1 mouth. I just feel like if we asked more questions, if those in power asked more questions, we might be better off.
Yeah, and of course, and those in power need to be challenged and asked questions also.
Yeah, correct. Thank you for talking with me. I kind of am forgetting about the audience. I'm just trying to bleed your brain for as much knowledge. But with kids, I mean, how can I help instill Stoicism in these young, annoying brats when it's a now culture? It is a TikTok. It is, when the internet came out, never make a video over 3 minutes. Now it's like, don't make a video over 35 seconds. I want my kids to take a deep breath and read books and calm down. But what are some tricks I can use?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not going to teach them Stoicism unless you're modeling Stoicism.
Well, I'm not going to do that, but... right, okay. So I got to do it too.
Yes, you've got to do it, and I think that is the mess that we're in, which is that we were taught values as a society, and then our leaders don't embody them in any way, shape, or form.
Right. But but we can improve that by doing it ourselves.
Yeah, so look, you and I are not president. We don't run the world. We don't control so much of what's happening, but we control how we act. Like, we might want to see less cruelty, more decency, more honesty, more kindness, more competence. Well, let's start at home, right? Like, how are you doing those things? It's so easy to despair about what's happening in Washington or Brussels. But we all have our own domains, what the Stoics would call our circles of control, and that's a lot, and it's a lot, and it makes a difference if we all do our thing well, and we do it with courage and discipline and justice and wisdom. It makes a huge difference, and our kids are. People think about multi-generational impact. Well, there it is at your house, and you're neglecting it to yell at someone on social media.
I want to briefly just talk to you about how much research you did on Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln comes up a lot in this book. It was fascinating to hear more about him, but you really dove in. Why is Abraham Lincoln so important?
In a way, he's the complete man that embodies all of these virtues. Tolstoy was in this remote part of Russia, and he's talking to these tribesmen, and he's telling them these stories of history, and they said, but you haven't told us about the greatest man of them all. They go, who are you talking about? I go, Abraham Lincoln. And he's blown away, but he goes, yeah, this is actually the kind of man that a nation can be proud of. Lincoln famously has his little engine that knows no rest. That's his ambition. But what does he use that ambition for? It's not for his own gain, right? It's to free a people, not to enslave a people. And that is what greatness is. That's what virtue is. Like, how do you leave this place better than you found it? And I've always been a Civil War nerd. I've always loved Abraham Lincoln. But you sit down to write, I think people think there's such a thing as writer's block. There isn't. Writer's block is you haven't done the work. You don't have the material. And so I thought I'd read enough about Lincoln, and there was about another 5,000 pages left for me to read. But that's what books are, is the distillation of other books and other people's experiences. And I love what I get to do because I get to nerd out about stuff.
Can you imagine how many Instagram followers Abraham Lincoln would have if he was alive today? This book sits next to my bed because I can grab any page and read it and feel like I'm feeding my brain. Thank you for writing it. Thank you for being here. Wisdom Takes Work is available now. Be sure to check out his Daily Stoic podcast. Ryan Holiday.